Hello, everybody. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes.
Where I bring the tea.
Yep. Welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Alana is bringing the tea time, and I'm bringing the crimes. Neither one of us knows what the other is bringing to the episode. So thank you for joining us. Alana, what do you got going on?
Someone's rooting against my door.
What does that mean?
I keep hearing shoves against my door, and I think it's probably Noke rooting around for food. She's such
Oh.
a scavenger. She's never gotten over her days of being starving,
Yeah.
starving dog syndrome.
That happens. Bailey
Yeah.
the cat was like that, where
Yep.
he's like, I'm full to the max, but I'm going to still push it a little bit.
Right.
It's just because I recall being a starving kitten.
Right. Like
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
wild?
It is. It sticks with you. But what do you got going on?
It does. Let's see. This morning I did a meditation, and it was a happiness meditation. And like, think of someone who you like and think about what makes them happy. So I was thinking about you eating sprinkles,
Oh
and
my gosh.
that
I made it into your meditation?
yeah. And that time I was going to say Ben and Noble. I just combined Barnes
That
and
is
Noble
a
and Ben and
dream.
Jerry's, but
That's a
am I onto
dream.
something?
Yes. Yes, they should merge. But yes, Ben and Jerry's.
Where I was getting a normal ice cream, Megan's getting a cup of sprinkles, and the best part is like a little bit more.
I think I told her, I said, I want more sprinkles than you've ever given a normal human being. When you think it's too much, keep going.
Yeah.
And
So
she delivered.
She did. She understood the assignment and she delivered. But yeah, I mean, little known fact.
Do you know what I've started doing? It's so old lady, but weird.
Okay.
We go to a restaurant that has free soft serve if you get a meal there.
Oh my God. The soup plantation?
No, and it's amazing. I've started bringing a container of my own sprinkles. And my son loves it. I'm like, give me your cone. I know how to hold on. I can roll it in there from the good old ice cream days. And it's
yeah.
I realized that I crossed the line and I stopped and checked in. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with going here? And the answer was, yeah, you're old enough. Bring your own sprinkles.
And now your son's going to pick that up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better than sprinkles.
I love reaching into my purse and pulling out a Tupperware full of sprinkles.
Yeah, that's next level shit.
Glad I made it on your happiness meditation. Yeah. It's accurate. All right. Well, you got a tea for us today?
I sure do. Okay. So today it is another warming tea out of that collection. Mm-hmm. That was the raspberry ganache collection.
From a couple weeks ago?
Earlier on, a few weeks ago. The
gotcha.
raspberry
ganache. Yeah.
So this is a sweet orange spice. I've been practicing my French.
Yeah, nailing it.
Chris hates it, by the way.
Oh, I wonder why. Did you say orange? Is that what you were trying to say?
That's how they say it. Everything sounds the same in French. No, I hate it. Spanish is so much easier.
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay. Sweet orange spice. Fragrant cinnamon, clove, and orange for a classic that evokes the holidays.
All I can picture is the chef from The Little Mermaid.
Sebastian?
No, not the crab. The original cartoon. We've talked, where the 16-year-old.
Oh, like the human chef.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he's French.
Oh, guaranteed.
That's all I imagine you doing now.
Okay. I like that.
Well,
he was very angry, though.
Yeah, because that's the only way you think you're doing the accent correctly is to scream it.
Yeah. But it's like very... it's all through the nose. Nasal. Oh, God. I'm just getting a hernia. Okay. Woo! They're not fucking around. It is very smelly. I mean, aromatic.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Good save.
It is so potent. All right, let's dive in.
Pungent.
Whew! Holy shit.
What are the smells?
It's very, very cinnamony. which I love. I do love cinnamon.
That's a good smell.
But it's intense. Like, it's taking over the whole thing. It's not, it should be sweet cinnamon spice, in my opinion, at this point. Do you remember that candy? It's like a box of red little candies and they taste like cinnamon.
Oh, Red Hots?
Yes, this is what it tastes like.
Oh, I don't like those. I don't like cinnamon gum either. I love cinnamon.
Because it's too much?
It's too much and it feels artificial.
Well, probably.
I mean, it is, but that's the same problem I have with strawberry flavors. I like strawberries, but I can't have anything flavored strawberry.
What about strawberry ice cream?
Nope.
Even if it has real strawberries in it?
I don't. Oh, especially not.
Oh, I love when you find those nuggets. My
I don't want anything chunky in my ice cream. That is taking away from my sprinkles.
What about chocolate chip cookie dough? Little chunks of caramel, waffle cone? No?
I want it.
Pure.
Chocolate and white soft serve.
Don't distract.
With sprinkles. Please. That's
it. Soft, not hard.
I don't like any fruit ice cream.
Wow. What about sorbet? If it's not ice cream. Is that okay? No. Okay. Don't send her sorbet. If you're planning on it. It'll melt in the mail too.
You can just freeze it, put it in an envelope. I hear that works.
I mean, I'm not enjoying it.
Eloquent.
So, does it
just take a minute to get used to?
No, it's so strong every time. It's like diving into a pool of Red Hots, like a ball pit. It's a Red Hot pit.
Wow.
Yeah, and you have no choice. It's gonna get in your mouth, even if you close it. It'll go up your nose.
Yeah, everywhere.
This is a Red Hot's thumbs up.
Okay.
It's barely a thumbs up though. Maybe it's like really struggling to like go all the way up.
I bet it would be really good when you had a cold or a sore throat. Would it feel good?
I think so. But I appreciate strong flavors. There's a lot of teas out there, especially smaller brands that don't want to go too hard. So I'd rather you go far on the flavor and really punch us instead of just a weak, because then I could just have hot water if I wanted that. So
yummy.
This is what I prefer over a weak tea.
So it's a Red Hot struggling thumbs up.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are you ready to transition into your least favorite part of the episode?
Yep.
Okay. On October 30th, 2015.
What?
Just bear with me. Leigh Ann Sabine died of brain cancer. Her friends in South Wales mourned for the eccentric woman they'd come to know and love. Leigh had thrown tea parties, summer barbecues, given tarot card readings. She stayed up late talking with her neighbors once tea turned into something a little bit stronger, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And her neighbor, Viola Scott, told the Daily Mail she was great fun, very lively and very friendly. And Leigh had led a colorful life before settling in the neighborhood for the last 18 years. First as a model in Australia and then a cabaret singer until she found herself in a rocky marriage to a millionaire. But in her later years, the single bleach blonde had been rehoused by a woman's charity when she left her abusive husband. At least that's what Leigh had told everyone.
Dun, dun, dun.
3 weeks after her passing, Leigh's neighbor, Michelle James, was fulfilling her last request. Before her death, Leigh had thought of the perfect prank for the next tenants. Stored in the shed was an old medical skeleton, one Leigh had used for her training as a nurse. She wanted Michelle to put it in the attic after she died and give a good scare and Michelle a good laugh when the new tenants moved in.
Oh, God, that's mean.
Michelle found the skeleton easily, but it was wrapped up, so it took a minute to cut through the layers.
No, I'm nervous now.
To her horror,
No.
Michelle found the mummified remains of a real man.
Can you imagine?
No.
Was she pranking the friend?
You'll see.
Also, are they still in Australia?
They're in Wales at this time.
Oh, now talk about an accent.
Turns out, Leigh's husband, John, had gone missing 18 years ago.
What the fuck? Why would you keep him?
With the unwrapping of this tragedy, all the other lies in Leigh's life started to come to light. She had never been an Australian model. She'd been born in Wales, and her father, Ronald, was a coal miner.
Oh.
Leigh and her sister were abandoned when she was only 5, and her sister Susan was still a toddler. And it's thought that their mother, Margaret, was on the run for theft.
Okay.
The 2 girls were picked up by a car, taken away one day out of nowhere, shuttled
What?
between foster homes, extended family, and
Oh.
orphanages before they reunited with their father a few years later. Ronald remarried and then attempted to resume care, but Leigh was described as difficult. So much so that her father sent her away, again, this time to live with her aunt and uncle in London. Now, materially, Leigh didn't want for anything. They doted on her.
Okay.
But she was still rebellious and known to tell a lie.
I mean, it's
let's
kind of
say.
a crazy upbringing.
Yeah, well, trying to steer Leigh on the right path, her aunt and uncle encouraged her to enroll in training as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. At just 17, Leigh started her training and quickly fell in love with 28-year-old John Sabine, a married patient at the hospital. When Leigh became pregnant,
Oops.
she showed up on the Sabine doorstep to tell the current Mrs. Sabine,
Oh boy. She likes the dramatics.
I'm pregnant. What are you going to do about it?
Oh
And
boy. This is a soap.
Mrs. Sabine already had 2 young children with her husband, John.
Well, here's another.
So what Mrs. Sabine did was kick John out and tell her children that their father died in the Korean War. Bye.
Holy shit.
She's not messing around. Which I was kind of like, good for you, ma'am. So Leigh and Jean start their life together. They get married in 1960 after the divorce is final. That's the soonest they could marry. Their firstborn, Susan, was actually born in 1959. By 1965, they would have 3 more children, Stephen, Martin, and Jane.
Damn.
That same year, the family decided to move to New Zealand,
Oh.
where their 5th and final child, Leigh Ann, was born in 1967.
So she's a Kiwi.
Well, they moved there for a minute.
Her daughter is.
Yeah. After just a few years in New Zealand, Leigh and John sold their home and moved to Perth,
Okay.
Australia,
In Australia.
without their children.
That's not really the way you do it.
Much like Leigh's mother, the story goes that the couple went on the run after John, who was an accountant, was accused of fraud in the amount of $6,000.
Jesus.
But what we know for sure is that this move was used for Leigh to attempt to kick off her cabaret singing career.
Okay.
So the couple just leaves their 5 children, ages 2 to 11, in the care of a state-run nursery.
What?
Yeah. In 2016, the New Zealand Herald conducted an interview with Jane Sabine, one of their daughters. And Jane explained just the absolute devastation her parents' actions had on her and her siblings.
Of course. You're abandoned.
Yeah. She's quoted as saying, I used to get mad at people that said they were adopted because I used to think, at least your parents gave a damn. They loved you enough to say, hey, I can't look after you. I want you to have the best life you can. And they signed a piece of paper so they could be with a family that nurtured them and loved them regardless. Our parents didn't even care enough to do that.
That's really sad.
Now, Jane was super young when this happened. She was maybe 3 or 4, and she doesn't really remember much from the actual day, but she was told after the fact that she beat down or attempted, she's 3, to beat down the door to find her mom and dad.
Oh, boy.
Stephen, her older brother, was around 7, remembers being dropped off at a strange place he didn't know, that he'd never been to, and his parents telling him, we'll be back to get you next weekend.
How can you do something like that?
As they got older, Jane has memories of her and her brother walking home from school, and every time they saw a plane or a car heading towards their home, they would sprint home in case it was their parents.
No.
Jane would go out in the garden and pray regularly for her parents to come home, and if they were dead, she would simply pray that they knew how much she loved them.
Oh my God. That's
Absolute
depressing.
devastation these 2 have caused.
Yeah, that's horrible.
For the first 5 years, the children were cared for by an employee of the nursery, Pauline Ayers, but she developed health issues and stopped being able to care for the children.
Oh, God.
The Department of Social Welfare, I don't know how long this lasted, but the article said that they actually created a foster home that rotated the parents and not the children, which was interesting. And they decided to keep all 5 of the siblings together.
That's good.
But with the arrangements that came, they might have had the best of intentions, but the children were vulnerable and they survived abuse without having anyone they could turn to. In the TV show I Am, Jane Sabine, her episode is called I Am a Survivor. It's only in New Zealand, so I couldn't watch it. But if you're in New Zealand, watch it, learn more about this woman because it's impressive.
We do have a few Kiwi listeners.
Yeah. Jane tells her story in detail. She described that she survived physical and sexual abuse, and she was sent away to a girl's home when she was a young teenager.
No.
And the saddest part, or not the saddest, but one of the saddest parts is despite the evil that Jane and her siblings encountered, Jane said there were also people along the way who were incredibly kind and nurturing, but because she was always waiting for her parents to come back, she shut off to that.
That
Because,
sucks.
there wasn't this, they're not coming back. There wasn't this closure. They were always constantly hoping that the parents would be back. It wasn't until 1984 that Leigh and John saw their children again, with no explanation for their actions there really isn't unless you have amnesia and you're in some sort of weird soap opera, like I just recovered my memories and found my way back. Yeah. But still, they had nothing that was worthwhile. Jane is 15 at the time.
What fuckers.
And Leigh told the children that they left so that she could start her singing career. And then they became destitute and they couldn't make their way back to New Zealand. The children are speechless because are you kidding me?
Yeah.
First off, really? You thought you're going to have a big singing career. Second, you can't do that.
No.
Or take us with you.
That's not how it works.
That's not how that works. And when they started asking questions, Leigh simply said, I don't feel I owe you an explanation.
What? So she's the 2%.
Yeah.
Sociopath.
She's something. But it soon became clear to them that even the reason they gave was not the truth. The couple had actually returned to New Zealand in 1972 and did nothing to find their children.
What?
Instead, they assumed fake names, Leigh and John Martin, and they began importing show dogs.
No.
Pedigree English Springer Spaniels.
Ugh.
1972.
Yeah, 12 years.
12 years they've just been kicking it. Anyway,
Fuck.
In the 80s, the papers hit the story with the headlines in the Sunday news like
Parents
Dogs Before Kids or Runaway Mom, I Did It for Love. Leigh was quoted as saying, we felt cheap, dirty, but we adored our children and wanted to be with them so badly. No, you didn't. You act like actual opposite of what you're saying.
They deserve a good punch in the face.
The social minister of New Zealand launched an investigation of what they called the, quote, dump and run parents, but they decided not to prosecute, which people weren't happy about. Everyone felt bad.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, everyone felt bad for the kids. And they also wanted the Sabines to pay financially for this, like the only way they could get retribution for just dropping their kids off and saying, here, the state can take care of them.
Right.
Because they clearly had funds. They said it was because of poverty, but they were buying show dogs.
It's so gross.
Seemingly dodging any legal consequences, the Sabines told the neighbors that they were going on holiday, and then they never came back to New Zealand, instead moving to the UK.
Oh my God.
Gone. By 1985, they'd moved into a townhouse.
And their kids just stayed in New Zealand?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Leigh appears on the radar again in 1992 for being fired from her department store job. The Daily Mail reports the cause was being too friendly with the customers.
Oh, boy.
Which I thought maybe meant physically, but I think it just meant the way that she spoke to them. I don't know. The entire time John and Leigh are together, it's not without issues, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Friends report that Leigh temporarily left John for a much younger man, somebody half her age.
Whoa.
Whom the New Zealand Herald described as a hardened criminal.
Oh.
And Leigh was said to hide out in a hotel room with this man while he held a bloody machete because he just cut off the fingers of his robbery partner. So
that's cute.
You got some stuff going on there. John was devastated that Leigh had left him. And when this happened, he hired a private investigator to track her down, only to find out that she was living with this machete man. And then I only found this account in one paper, but the woman said that John then moved in with them too.
What?
And it wasn't until 1995 that John and Leigh moved out, leaving Machete Man. I'm guessing he went back to prison, but maybe he was just doing his own thing.
Wow.
That's weird. I
A
think
lot of interesting choices going on.
Yeah, I think maybe Leigh might have complete control over John, if I had to guess.
Sounds like it.
Just absolute total control. Constantly on the move, the pair moved to South Wales in 1997, and that is the last anyone sees of John Sabine. So Leigh Ann was the only one who'd be able to report John missing, and she did not. Instead, she continued to keep him on the electoral roll as a resident and cash his pension checks in their joint account.
Okay.
Friends and acquaintances heard various tales suggesting that he abandoned Leigh, ran away with another woman, or the one I said at the start of the episode that she'd escaped from him because he was abusive. Although there's absolutely no evidence to support that claim. In fact, John's body would suggest the opposite.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
They both suck, to be clear. On the, evidence of abandoning their children.
Yeah, nobody's looking great. And John's abandoned twice.
Right.
Two families.
Yes.
For this woman. 7 children he's abandoned for this woman.
Good job, John.
It would take weeks to find out the identity of the body. Michelle, the poor woman who unwrapped the skeleton, was arrested.
What?
And it took them a while before they realized that this poor woman knew absolutely nothing about what was going on. Looking through old paper trails, the investigators found the original lease agreement in 1987, which had been signed by both John and Leigh. John also had a prescription around that time that he just never picked up. But even with the name, they have to be positive that it is the John Sabine. So they actually get DNA from a family member, the son from his first marriage. And they were able to prove beyond a doubt that it was John Sabine.
Medical technology, folks.
An autopsy was performed and confirmed John had died of blunt force trauma to the head. Suddenly, some of the offhanded comments Leigh had made to friends were suddenly disturbing.
Oh, God. Wait, when did he go missing?
1997.
And he was found in 2015?
Mm-hmm. One of Leigh's oldest friends, Valerie Chalkley, remembers reconnecting with Leigh after a couple years. And the New Zealand Herald reports that Valerie told the Mail, "It was a couple of years since we'd spoken. So I said, I wondered what had happened to you both. I would have thought by now that one of you would have killed the other." She said it tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
To which Leigh replied, "It's funny you should say that. I've killed him. I've battered him with a stone frog, which was at the side of the bed. He was just driving me mad. Every night he would get into bed crying and weeping, saying, 'You don't fancy me.'"
She just confessed.
Well, then she laughed it off and said, oh no, John's fine.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, that's so specific.
Yeah, so specific. And it was so weird and so specific. Valerie remembers thinking that's ridiculous. And then
I'm sure that would stick.
John must be fine. And then they had an inside joke, Valerie and her family, "You better watch it or I'll frog you," because it's such a ridiculous murder weapon.
It is.
And they would joke about it.
Fuck.
Obviously not knowing that it was.
No, of course not.
Because of the comment, investigators start looking for a stone frog.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. They were able to locate one. Some sources say it was in the garden. Some say it was in her bedroom, kept by her bed. But the forensic pathologist, Dr. Richard Jones, was able to confirm the unusual shape the statue made with the bulging eye and the hind legs identically matched the fractures in John's skull.
Bro.
Yeah. The way Leigh had wrapped the body chemically mummified it, preserving evidence.
Did she do it on purpose?
They believe she added new layers over the years, most likely to hide a smell.
Stop it.
When it was discovered, John's body had 41 layers of various materials, things like car covers, roofing material, plastic bags.
What?
Had she not done this, had Leigh not wrapped it like this, then Michelle most likely would have found a skeleton.
Okay.
Which they think might have been, that's why they think it was accidentally mummified.
But just thinking back at the origin of the story, you're scarring your friend also for life, to do that.
Yeah. Once it was unwrapped, the odor was nothing but rotting flesh.
I would die on the spot from the odor.
John was still wearing the Marks and Spencer pajamas he had on the night he died. Tests were even able to show the blood alcohol content, but it was way below the legal limit. But that's just how well he was preserved.
Wow.
It's thought that Leigh kept John's body under their bed for most of the 18 years.
No.
She had a live-in boyfriend after he died, so just let that sink in.
No, I don't want this.
Well,
I reject this.
Okay. It wasn't until she was diagnosed with cancer that police believe she moved the body. However, an alternate theory is that the body had actually been stored in the attic, and then Leigh moved it on her own, fell down the stairs, hurt herself, went to the doctors, and discovered her diagnosis by accident.
Oh.
Either way, the theory is that the body had been somewhere in the house and then moved to the communal shed in 2015.
Okay, this is just like underlining the 2%. Can you imagine having a fucking dead person in your house?
No.
I'm a goner. See ya.
That you just occasionally roll out and rewrap. No. And then you keep the frog, by the way.
Yeah.
Either way, closer to October, knowing that she didn't have much time left, she asked her neighbor Michelle to move the skeleton, right, after she died, put it in the attic. Leigh told Michelle it was a fake skeleton she had from her nurse training, right?
So fucked
all
up.
that stuff. And the two had joked about it. Michelle, laughing, said, "It better not be real," to which Leigh would always reply, "You never know."
Can you imagine? Imagine having a friend like that for over years, and then you look, oh my God, this would screw my brain up.
Yeah.
And not trust other people.
In addition to the previous comment, The Guardian reported Leigh also had told her hairdresser, "People are going to talk about me after I've gone. I could be famous." And the hairdresser, "What do you mean?"
I mean, it's true.
And she replies, "Because of the body in the bag."
She's itching to she loves drama. She loves drama.
She loves really walking right up to that line and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Apparently not much. Now, keep in mind, there's no way to prove this beyond a doubt. Obviously, Leigh knew about the body, but since she passed away, she was never officially tried or convicted. Just throwing that out there.
They didn't put a corpse on the bench.
Still, Michelle, she has since struggled terribly since this day in October.
Yeah.
She had to face the media and rumors after being arrested, despite having absolutely nothing to do with the crime.
That was a misguided thing with cops, feels like, to arrest her. But I mean,
Sure.
Whatever.
I mean, how many times do you just have a body on your porch, though, right?
Yeah.
She told The Guardian that day changed her life and affected her mental health. She's been diagnosed since that day with PTSD.
Yep.
And she wonders why Leigh would put her through this when all she had to do was confess before her death.
She's a sociopath. That's it. She got a kick out of thinking about this play out. She got a kick out of it. Guaranteed.
So. I also do think she thought it would be a skeleton. I don't know if she...
I think that's fair.
I don't know if she thought it would be mummified. But even if it... I mean, she had 18 years to think about this.
It's fucked up regardless, obviously.
It's just going to be bones. It's not going to stand up. You know what I mean? A medical anatomy skeleton has a pole in it, and it's attached by wires. It's not going to be put together.
Was it leaning against the shed wall?
I think it was just laying in there.
Laying in it, okay.
But, I mean, bones don't articulate by themselves.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. It doesn't work like that. They need sinew or sinew? Sinew. What a gross thing.
Remember, John had, like I said, he's had 2 children from his first marriage who thought he was dead. Maybe he wasn't. They weren't sure. And The Guardian reported his son Christopher said, "When I was told they had found my father's body, I couldn't believe it. I hadn't seen him for 27 years, and we didn't know if he was dead or alive. I tried to contact him many times, but he never replied. Now we know why."
Huh. So they didn't buy their mother's story.
I'm a little confused on that. I don't know if they realized it after the fact. When he was interviewed by a news station, he said he asked his mother, "Why would you say that?" And she said, "Well, because I hoped it was the truth."
Gotcha. So probably when they got a little older.
I wonder if maybe at some point they realized that that might not be the case. Jane Sabine was not surprised by the news at all.
Yeah.
In the same article. In the same article I mentioned earlier, she said, "It didn't surprise me because what parent, let alone parents, leave 5 children? Anything's possible."
Yep. 7, right?
Leigh had 5, and then John had the additional 2.
Yeah.
Jane's brother, Stephen, told the Daily Mail, "I could never forgive him for what he did," talking about his father, "but I still believe he was manipulated and he fell in love with an evil woman. That was his biggest crime."
No.
I mean, I think
that's not his biggest crime.
Well, I think what he's saying is that Leigh was the one in charge here, right? In this
I agree
criminal
with that.
duo, Leigh's in charge.
But he's still a fully functioning adult who abandoned 2 families.
Well, that's why he said he could never forgive his father for what he did. As you might imagine, Jane had very little contact with her mother after that reunion in 1984.
Shocking.
She sent her a letter in 2014, hoping to get some answers and help heal the part of her that was still living with the trauma of what had happened. Leigh sent back the following response.
No.
"Jane, like the phoenix, I will arise from my ashes, and sleep will obey me and visit thee never. For my eyes are upon thee forever and ever. I have served my life sentence of shame and blame. Now it is your turn to suffer the same." Then she signed it, "Your nemesis, Ann Leigh Sabine." Yeah, she signed it, "Your nemesis."
You know what Anne should have sent?
You mean Jane?
Jane.
Yeah.
Jane should have sent, this is how it should have read. "Dear awful person, comma, up yours, period." And then left it unsigned. That's it.
Wow, you really pulled out the big guns for that. Now, Jane, she's the one that's talking about this the most. Jane has done her best to create her own life, and she became a mother and a grandmother, and she loves her family fiercely in a way that was not modeled for her, in a way that was never given to her. At the time of the article that I mentioned, it was 2016. She was trying to raise enough money to go meet her half siblings in the UK because that was a discovery. She didn't know about John's children until her dad's body was unwrapped.
Okay.
And hopefully that happened. She's also featured in, I think it was 2019, in that episode on the New Zealand television. The Ministry of Social Development also issued an apology for the treatment of the Sabine children for what they had endured.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And she probably had to play parent too, because she's the oldest.
No, she's like one of the youngest.
Oh, never mind.
But what do you think about that? It's a short story, I know, shorter than usual, but it was so strange and so odd that I had to tell it to you. Plus, it had so many New Zealand references.
I know. I do appreciate that side of it. I mean, I think because she's in the 2% and like this doesn't forgive her, it's just like you can't understand it. I can understand a lot of the cases that we've had where one thing leads to another and, you know, you can follow the logic. Here, she's just on that sociopath level where she gets kicks out of awful shit, like what she set up her friend to discover. She enjoyed the drama of it. Like you said, she liked to walk up to that line and see how far she could push it. She's selfish. She's a narcissist. She's a sociopath. It's just like the shitty thing about it. And like, you know, humans, is that how much she affected other people. Like, I wish these people could just be in a bubble and fuck themselves over. For those people to be able to have children, it just sucks because these children are being born into a life of, or an early life of like pain and abandonment.
I know.
And it's just so shitty. And Leigh got abandoned when she was young and followed in her mother's footsteps, but way worse.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not an excuse because look at Jane. Jane went through a similar thing. She had experienced awful stuff. And she devoted herself to her family and she said, no, I'm not following in this same path. She's made a decision. She took it's a harder path, but it's a better path. And it's just so hard to see all the suffering, the ripples that happen from this and just like one person's sociopathic behavior.
It's also interesting how somebody can be so different for different people. I mean, if you'd ask any of the Sabine children, what was your mother like? They have one answer. But before this discovery, if you ask any of the neighbors, right, you get, oh, she's an eccentric, fun-loving woman.
Right.
Because those people only know her on the surface. And that's what people who are manipulative are so good at.
Yes.
Skating on the surface.
Yep.
And just dodging any of that real introspection. And you can't do that with spouses and children, right? They see the full range. Yeah, it's just crazy that she just so, I mean, imagine that if what she said was true, John is telling her how he feels disconnected from her,
Yeah.
and she reaches down, grabs a
And
stone
beats him
frog,
to
and
death.
then beats him to death, and then wraps him up and rolls him under the bed,
I mean, it's
allegedly.
sociopathic.
And then just leaves him there,
Yeah.
and
You're disconnected from people.
honestly, John's probably the only person who knows the extent of what Leigh had done throughout her life. Think of all the things she did on all those
in between.
Well, they were on the run. Think of all the things that she must have done that only he knows about, even to him, right? Living with other men, running away with other men, and then coming back to him. I mean, still cashing his checks. I'm sure there were things that were done along the way that would be shocking that we'll never know about. Left to become a cabaret singer.
Ugh. Just truly sick.
I mean, could you imagine saying, see you next weekend, and then just never coming back?
Mm-mm.
I mean, that's it. I can't, I mean, I have a son. I can't even put myself in that.
Of course, because you're not a sociopath.
I mean, yeah.
She's so disconnected.
What Jane said, I thought was so insightful that because there are parents who recognize I can't properly care for a human being. And it's sad and it's heartbreaking, but I want my child to have a better life. And they make arrangements.
Right.
Right. There's safe haven drop offs. There's adoption. There's family members. They make arrangements.
Yep.
That is the piece I think that Jane has honed in on that is so devastating about what they did.
Right. They didn't even do that.
They didn't even do that. I mean, those children were young. They could have been adopted and had a much different life than what they were forced to suffer through just because, and I'm willing to bet, just because maybe she wants to come back someday.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to keep her options open kind of thing is how it feels.
Save my page here.
Yeah, well, if it doesn't work out, then maybe I'll be back and maybe I'll do that again. Yeah, heartbreaking. So
I just wonder how she was, even as a mother to her children. I bet they suffered there too, but they were so young. You know what I mean?
There's 5 of them too. I bet they were such a unit.
Yeah.
Together. Who knows though? I wish I could watch that. Please let me know if you watch it in New Zealand. And then being hauled up in a motel with a man with a machete.
I mean, she doesn't know how to make good decisions. She just was like riding the dramatics of life wherever she could get her kicks.
Yeah. And like you said, she did have her own past, but
it's not an excuse for that behavior.
There's something more going on.
Oh, absolutely. 2%.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I saw that and I said, I know it's recent and I know it's short, but I have to tell Alana this story because it's so weird.
It's so weird. That poor friend. That's my worst nightmare. I mean, you know, finding a dead body, but like, I don't know if it makes it worse if you're just hiking on a trail and find a body, or you're like, oh, let me get in on this prank with my friend. And then you're unwrapping, and then oh my God.
I think that one's worse.
At what layer do you think the smell came out?
That's what I'm saying. I think that one's worse because if you happen upon it spontaneously, then you just avoid that trail for the rest of your life and you can look away pretty quick. But if think about the physical effort it would take to lift it, put it in a place where you could cut it open, the smell would start to happen and you'd think, oh my goodness. You'd start to think, oh, an animal must have got trapped in here. Or you'd start to think about like normal, regular explanations for what you were about to not understanding what you were about to say.
I think the animal thing is good. I feel like that's a fair thought. But I feel like as you got closer, I feel like you have to know.
But I don't
because you can feel flesh.
No,
when
she
you get
couldn't.
Closer in
41 layers. I bet you.
No, I'm saying like 30 layers in.
No, I bet you she just did 1 or 2 swipes and it fell open. I don't think she sat there doing 1 layer at a time. She's not an archaeologist.
No, I know, but like, wasn't a lot of it thick? So it'd take some time.
It was plastic. Most of it was plastic. I think she just probably got a box cutter and just cut through. Because she's not worried about hurting what's on the other side of it. She thinks it's a plastic skeleton. So she just probably swiped it and it probably just fell open.
I wonder if she was surprised, like, oh, this is heavy for a plastic skeleton.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I mean, so I think those who suffered the most are the kids. I mean, John's dead, but I still think they suffered the most. And then this poor girl,
I know.
This poor Michelle. I feel like I'm her. I don't know why, but that's what I feel.
You feel a real kinship with her. I know she says it's really affected her life. I mean, she can't.
Yes.
She can't enjoy the same things that she used to enjoy.
No.
She has to be really careful of what she consumes visually.
I would second guess all of my friends from that.
I believe the housing neighborhood that they were in made her move, so she's more isolated. She's really struggling because of this, and she's angry about it.
Hell yeah, she's angry. I'm so sorry, Michelle.
Yeah, I don't think that... I really do think Leigh thought it would be a skeleton, but I also think she didn't care.
Yeah, correct on both counts.
Yeah, I also think, well, that'll be interesting. I think her main thought was, well, if they don't believe it, then I'll be famous, like I said.
Yeah, she's right.
Again, allegedly.
What a wild fucking woman. Caused so much hurt.
All right, well,
oh my God.
What are your last words?
I don't even know what to say. I mean,
Speechless.
I've said a lot of what I've said, but one thing that's not exactly connected to the story. Have you ever taken a peek at the Welsh language?
No.
It's wild. It's just a lot of Y's and consonants. My last name comes from it, and it used to just have no vowels and just apostrophes in between the consonants. Not every single consonant, but anyways, I would love to learn that language, but it's and they have a fucking dragon on their flag. How cool. Just saying, as flags go, it might be the coolest in the world.
If we're doing a flag comparison, it's one of my faves.
Usually just strips of color. Let's slap a dragon on it.
All right. Well, you know what? I haven't seen enough flags to give an educated opinion here. I've only got a couple in my head right now. Ours and a maple leaf. And Japan. That's it. That's all I can call to mind.
Yeah, maple leaf is a good one, though.
Oh, here you go, Canada. She's really trying to butter you up.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
I just keep revisiting Michelle's horror. I'm speechless. Avoid sociopaths as best as possible.
Best you can, yeah. All right. Well, who should listen?
God. No, nobody. I'm just kidding. Kiwis, and then also watch that program that Megan's talking about and tell us about it. Mental health professionals, like, what do y'all think about this? Let's see. Definitely not nieces in this case. Nieces, stay away from this. People in the UK, people who love pranks. Just a cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale, yeah. Yeah. Maybe get your own skeletons, you know what I mean?
Yeah, please.
From Lowe's.
Police officers, and let's throw in some social workers.
Yeah.
Whew. I'm so sorry to those children, and I hope you're thriving now.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope you've had a beautiful life.
All right. Well, you can find us on all the platforms at
Tea Time Crimes.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Rate, review, like, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back next week with more tea times and more crimes. Thank you for listening.
You know what?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I feel like we've had a string of people who were like, nope, she fucking did it. She's the worst.
What's a mystery?
You know what I mean? There's not like a there's not like a buildup of like, oh, I can see what happened here. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not nuanced anymore.
But I love that. Like, I love the different cases that you can find because it's just a spectrum of humanness and like psychotic behaviors. But it's like, nope, she's the worst.
yeah. You're right. Because we had Eliza, Anna, and Jet. We're on a streak of people. We're just like, oh boy. Well, I'm gonna switch it up next week. So stay tuned.
Happy 2024.
Yeah, well, it's pretty far into the year. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Au revoir.
Ciao.
That shows that you're practicing French.
We haven't gotten to goodbye yet.
Au revoir. That's it.
Au revoir.
I don't know that they roll their R's, but cool. Got a gem coming your way, Canada.